You're now listening to the most dangerous sound. Hosted by Lee Alexander the Great. You've heard the verse, but this is the hook.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what it do? It's your boy Lee Alexander the Great, back in the building again. Episode number 9, season 2. What it do? So glad you guys can be with me, and I'm here with you, and definitely here for you with that news, that stuff that you may have heard of. You may have heard the verse to that conversation, but I'm here to give you that hook, and that's what we do. How have you been? How's everybody going? How's everybody going? How's everybody doing? Goodness gracious. Hold on. I'm trying to make sure that everything is right in here. When you're at this level of life, you just have to do things yourself. But anyway, let's just say this. I got a couple things I want to talk about tonight, and I guess some of them are sad. Some of the things that I want to talk about are just things. You know what I mean? Like, you really can't treat them like they're some big thing. But most of them are big things. Let's be honest. They're big things. But what I've noticed is that ain't no school like the old school. And it seems like it's the old school, but for the most part, a lot of things are just different. There are a lot of things in this world that people shun. Like, I noticed that younger individuals have a tendency to treat things that are beyond their years of existence to be old school. And I think that there's a problem with that, because most times they are just saying that I don't understand that, or I haven't lived long enough to comprehend that, so I'm just going to assume that it's irrelevant. Everything that's old is not bad. And when I say that, I'm only saying that because there are tendencies and mentalities that come with being from an older era that might need to be legacy type concepts when it comes down to how you are acting, reacting, or moving inside of the society. And I think that the general purpose of anyone who can be considered the man or they or the government, whatever you want to perceive to be the unsung or individual that is not visible to you specifically, but an individual that, what was specifically? I'm sorry, all right. You gotta excuse me. Some of my words get messed up. But the idea is this. Whoever you decide is the one that's doing things, please believe, if they're doing anything, they're trying to make sure that you don't take the advice of your elders. And I believe in that concept, the concept of listening to your elders, at least listening to them. You know, I don't necessarily believe that you have to just blindly accept anything that anyone says, but through the process of living, there are certain things that are understandable, or at least I know that you shouldn't do this. And you can say, oh, don't touch the stove. You said don't touch the stove. I'm not going to try to touch the stove. I know it's hot. We both know it's hot. You may not necessarily know the repercussions of touching the stove, but that doesn't mean that because somebody that's older than you said it makes it wrong. Now, why am I talking about elders or older people as opposed to younger people? I'm saying that because I am seeing a lot of things that are happening inside of this environment, that are happening inside of this world that we live in currently, that are surefire signs that people are not listening to people prior to. And I'll give you another. I'll say something else to you, to the younger generation. Um, a person can say something wrong and say something right within the same sentence. It is up to you to be able to decipher what is wrong and what is right. When you can't figure that out, you end up putting yourself in a position where you can't hear anything. So that's kind of like only accepting information from a person that's a millionaire, but they're a second generation millionaire. So the assumption is because this person is a millionaire that they have knowledge. And then you hear someone who's homeless and they give you knowledge based on the circumstances you deal with, and you say, I can't listen to you, you broke. No one can really say where information comes from. Like, I'm serious. Like, it's very hard to act like you can only get information from one area. You can't get information from another area. Like, that's like saying, like, you go into a prison, you see all these people who have had time to think, had time to pray, had time to read, had time to study, had time to reflect, and then you tell them, you can't tell me nothing because you've been there. That's the assumption. Now, what I know for certain that is wrong with that assumption is that, first off, information doesn't just come from one area. Now, one person can give you information that will help you along the way inside of another area. For instance, if I tell one of my children, hey, this is how you can function in one environment, and you have to think this way, even though you don't deal with that on a regular basis. Give you an example. I go to pick up one of my sons from work. His job decided that, they weren't all of a sudden going to be there, right? So he's sitting down, he's got his headphones on, he's got his back turned toward the street, things that I would never do because of the environment I was raised in. So in my mind, it's never a good idea to have your back towards everything. I don't sit in bars, restaurants, I don't care where it is. I don't put my back towards the majority of people or the majority of opportunity. I always make sure that I'm visible or I can see what's going on so that I can react. Now, this guy is not necessarily supposed to think that way because he wasn't raised that way, but he's 17. So what I did was I walked up on him and he had his headphones on, so he was listening to music or something like that. And then I took my phone out and I put it to his head without him seeing me. But I did call him twice just to make sure that I tried to communicate with him before I got to him. By the time I got to him, I was already up on him with my phone, put it to his head. It was like, I was like, give us your money. But that wasn't the point. The point was when I did it, he half laughed and half was surprised because he didn't know what was happening. Now, the reason why he didn't know what was happening because he had never been in that environment. I try to protect him from that because I know that environment. The problem with that is that sometimes you don't know the dangers that can arrive. Can be there. And if you're blind, if you're book smart but you're not street smart, you won't survive. If you're street smart but you're not book smart, you won't survive. You have to have a bit of a balance between the two. And that comes from information because wisdom can help you through those circumstances. Knowledge will help you survive in those circumstances as it pertains to being capable of looking at things with a knowledgeable eye, but wisdom will always put you past that and make sure that you make the necessary precautions to keep yourself out of situations that will put you in a dangerous position. Now, sometimes you don't have that option. For instance, let's talk about Alec Baldwin. Now, from my understanding, Alec Baldwin is one of these people who, he's a well-known actor. And about a little bit over a year ago, this guy seemingly did something or did not do something inside of his environment, and it cost him the option to deal with something that somebody on the street would deal with. Now, before I talk about it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you hear the actual verse, and then we'll talk about the hook. So, without further ado, here you go.
This is vital.
Ain't getting nowhere else. It's what's going on.
With me, Alexander the Great.
Holla at me.
Content is key.
Alec Baldwin now facing criminal charges for the shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the Rust movie set. The New Mexico DA is set to charge him with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter.
Brooke Singman has all the details. Brooke.
So that's right, Carly Todd. If convicted, those charges could land Baldwin up to 6.5 years behind bars. New Mexico District Attorney Mary Carmack Altwies said this in her decision, quote, after a thorough review of the evidence and the laws of the state of New Mexico, I've determined that there is sufficient evidence to file criminal charges against Alec Baldwin and other members of the Rust film crew. On my watch, no one is above the law and everyone deserves justice. Now, this all began in October of 2021 when police say Baldwin pointed his prop gun at Helena Hutchins while practicing a scene when it went off, striking her in the chest and grazing another crew member in the shoulder. According to an affidavit, the actor was allegedly told by crew members that the revolver was not loaded. Baldwin has also repeatedly claimed he did not pull the trigger.
You look at the situation and you say in your mind, well, how did that happen on a movie scene? How inside of a movie environment did a real bullet get placed inside of a prop gun, and when he shot the gun, it actually killed or almost killed somebody and injured another person, or killed somebody and injured another person? How do you come to that point? He didn't know. I don't think I listened to his testimony and I've listened to the circumstance, and I don't think either he didn't know or he really knew. But he wasn't pointing that gun at another actress or actor. He was pointing that gun at a cinematographer. He was pointing at somebody that was holding a camera or watching a camera, because that's what they normally do. The weird thing about it is, as he was pointing this gun, he says with what I believe to be like a sincere face, like, I didn't even pull the trigger. I don't even know how that happened. Now that could mean multiple things. It could mean that he's never pulled the trigger before, or he didn't really push down on the trigger, so he don't know how it went that way. Maybe the scene didn't even call. Oh, you know what? He did say that. The scene didn't even call for him pulling the trigger. So there's a lot to unwrap there. I feel for the people who were hurt during that accident, but from what I understand, there are multiple people that check and regulate guns before they're in the hand of actors or actresses. So it's really weird that he said that he didn't shoot the gun and it went off. And more importantly than that, how in the heck did it end up having a real bullet in it? Like, where'd that bullet come from? They don't have blanks. Like, I don't understand how that happened. But that's another situation where it's like, yo, how did you end up in that situation? Where are the people who are, and not only he, but the person that was supposed to check the gun, they're both dealing with the same charges that were mentioned before. So this is like a situation where it's like you do everything that you're supposed to do in life, seemingly, to be an actor, and then all of a sudden you end up dealing with a murder charge, you know what I'm saying, or a manslaughter charge rather, and you were just doing your job. I don't know, man. I kind of feel like that's one of those situations where you have to really look at what happened and really try to figure out like what happened before you start pointing charges at people, because it seems like the people that he's dealing with as pertains to the law and the courts, it seems like they're like everybody's trying to make an example. Anytime they get a high profile case, they just want to go full-fledged all out with it. They don't care about the situation. They don't want to look into it. They just want to make sure that everybody knows that, yeah, well, they will convict a superstar or a movie star or something like that, just to make sure that everybody knows that it can happen. And I'm gonna say this: if anything's the hook would probably have to be, at some point in time, we have to start looking at the circumstances. And the only thing that I hate about the way that the law is ran is that it's always about what the law is, and no one gets a chance to look at the circumstances. It's predatory almost. It's really bad because you can't even look at a circumstance in particular. You have to look at, well, what does the law say? Well, the law says this, and the last time somebody dealt with this, they said that, and then boom, 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 and you go straight down the line. But I don't feel like this is one of those situations. I don't know Alec Baldwin. I don't know who he is as it pertains to his personal life. I don't know what he's been through, but I do know that real bullets ain't supposed to be in fake guns or inside maybe it was a real gun, but however, whatever the gun was, if it was capable of firing a bullet, that bullet shouldn't have been in that gun, and he shouldn't have been able to, if he's shooting or pointing at a cinematographer and he's not even pointing at the person that he was supposed to be shooting, and a gun go off and it actually hurts somebody, then we got to have a bigger conversation. But I don't think criminal charges should be on the docket at all. But that's what happens. Now, there are other situations where people have actually done things that they need to be convicted for. Case in point, there was a University of Alabama basketball player who did something that, honestly, I think that he probably needed to be convicted for. I'll let you hear this, and then we'll talk about it right afterwards.
We begin with breaking news from the University of Alabama. Just 3 hours ago, a member of the basketball team, who's also a D.C. native, along with a Maryland man, are both charged with capital murder. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Delia Gonsalves. The charges come after a deadly shooting near the University of Alabama campus. This man, 21-year-old Darius Miles of D.C. and Michael Lynn Davis of Charles County, are charged in connection with the shooting death of Jamia Harris. That young woman was just 23 years old. Police tell us this happened this morning after two groups got into an argument while they were driving. We've learned tonight both Miles and Davis allegedly fired shots into a car. Miles was a forward on the Alabama basketball team. The university tonight says he has been removed from the team.
Now, that was a small version of what actually has been mentioned as it pertains to the situation. Supposedly, this guy got mad because the female wouldn't talk to him, and all of a sudden they start shooting. Now, I don't really have all of the information, so I'm not going to act like I'm some type of expert on this particular circumstance. But this is what happens in my, and this is just me. This is how I think about this situation. This is what happens when people push the gun concept to everybody without understanding the importance of being responsible. They just push it. They just like everybody should have one. No, everybody shouldn't. Some of these people should not have one. Like, I'm serious, because there is a reason for a gun. Now, we're talking outside of when people are making movies. We're talking about when people are just in general walking around with them on them. And I think that ultimately it should not be easier or just as easy to get a gun as it is to buy eggs. I don't understand. Like, I mean, we put regulations on it, and it's a complicated conversation, and people have talked about it for a long time. Like, I mean, it's been a conversation for a while. But it seems to me that whenever senseless murders happen, because that woman that died, she had a child. That child does not have a mother anymore. Over a conversation. And it seems like the only people that can get guns are people who are young, haven't had a chance to commit a crime, and they can just grab one. And that, to me, just seems wrong. I think you should have to be at least between 25 and 30 before you can even get a gun. Because people who are older have more at stake than people who are I'm just 21. I just got into a college, and I mean, like, it seems like you can grab a gun at the age of 18 to 21, and it seems like you shouldn't even be able to have one. You shouldn't even be able to have a gun before you at least have lived life long enough to fuck up your credit. Like, that should be the rule. If you haven't had a chance to either build or fuck up your credit, you should not have a gun. It don't make sense. Because a lot of responsibility and a lot of the knowledge that comes along with living comes along way after you 18 years old. Way after that. But you got cats running around here with guns in their hand, and you're like, yo, I could get one. I ain't got no felonies. You ain't got no felonies because you ain't lived long enough. Why the heck you have a gun? You ain't lived long enough to understand that what you doing is stupid. You should not have a gun. Like, actually, you had a gun. And the thing about it is, these cats don't even fight no more. When I was young, we used to fight. We met up after school or even during school. You used to catch cats in line. When I was in junior high, we just start scrapping. It'd be what it was, but it was just fighting. That was it. You either won or you lost. I hate to sound like Witherspoon in Friday, but that was the truth. We used to just fight. And now they don't even learn how to fight. They don't learn how to swing, don't know how to protect themselves, dodge, bob, weave, nothing. Just straight out, just pop, pop, pop. Relationship, something went wrong. Pop, pop, pop. Girl gets something wrong, or dude cheat on her. It's stab, stab, stab. Nobody talks. Nobody communicates. Everybody just has this one move, like one move trick. It's just every time something goes wrong, it's always gotta be the death of something. And that's a very bad place to be in. It's a very bad place to be in because that dude was playing college ball. Now, I don't know if he's gonna make it to the pro. I don't know his stats. I don't know everything that probably there is to know about him, but I do know that he was doing better than most. And him and his homeboy, now they're in a county jail somewhere waiting arraignment about to mess up, and you're not going to fight that. You're going to take that L. Your life is over. Literally, your life is over. And that's just pretty much it. And nobody, and the thing about, and I go back to the initial point, the problem with not listening to people who are older than you and assuming that they have no knowledge, and because you know how to use a Twitter and the person that you're talking to don't, and you assume that you know more, is that you don't understand that there's information that you're missing. And when you're missing information, you lack information. And when you lack information, you lack the ability to respond to the things that you hear, or the things that you deal with, rather, excuse me. So nobody told them, hey man, first off, if you got a problem with somebody, or if you have an issue, the first thing that you don't do is grab a weapon. The first thing you do is think about what you're doing. Fuck the relationship. What are you doing with your life? Oh, well, I'm playing ball for college. I'm probably gonna have a full scholarship. I'm probably gonna, play pro. If not, and I'm still good because I got an education. Blah 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 blah. I'm gonna move on. If the situation is bad and the woman won't talk to me, I'll just find another woman. It's very simple. But if you don't know that and you're emotionally attached to whatever the situation is, you're putting yourself in a position to where everything that you worked for, everything that you built in your life is gone. The only thing that you're going to be good at is winning race basketball games on the yard, in prison. That's pretty much it. You're not going to do anything else. And that's it. And they'll forget you. No one's going to grab you after you do 25 years. It's over. And because no one's talking, and I don't even blame young people completely. And I'm talking about, the 30 and younger. I don't even blame them, because half times the problem is ain't nobody over 30 talking to people younger and saying, hey man, I know you don't want to hear this, but if you don't make a decision about whether you want to go home tonight or not, you're going to make a bad decision. And that's all it's about. It's a very simple concept. Do you want to go home, or do you want to go to jail? I think they said it. Did they say that? I think there's hold on, I just said not Denzel. I can't remember how he said it. He has, all right, side note, just real quick. So it turns out that Denzel Washington is not Denzel Washington, it's Denzel. It's something different. His name, when he says his name, it's not how we say it, which is so fucked up. Because we've been saying Denzel the whole time, and this dude's name is not even pronounced the way that we pronounce it. I swear. Hold on. Check this out. Hold on. I will. I ain't gonna say I'm gonna do it, because then I'm gonna find it. All right. Hold on. I'm gonna put it in here. I'm gonna put how he pronounce. Oh no, I'm not gonna do it. It's just too much editing. But look up Denzel Washington pronouncing his own name, and I promise you, it don't even sound like we pronounce it. But that means that every person that has ever said his name, every person that has mimicked him, every person that has talked about his movies has said his name completely wrong, and no one knows. But anyway, back to the subject. I just think that as the idea of progression is to acknowledge and to move forward, right? So everybody wants to acknowledge and move forward. But the problem with what we're doing is, and I'm just saying in general, the problem with what's happening is nobody's really holding themselves accountable to the extent of being willing to say what needs to be said. And people are running around and doing things without the information they should have. And I think that has a lot to do with the whole idea of people being everybody being independent. That whole word independent, I promise you, and this is to my people, everybody my people, but the African Americans. I'm just saying that whole independent movement, we're the only culture that does that. We don't believe in it takes a village to raise a child. We don't believe in making sure that our community is correct. We all want to be independent and be, the women want to be independent. They don't care about family no more. The guys want to be independent because they don't want the stress that comes with marrying somebody and having them leave them and take everything they got. We got all these reasons for not being together, but we're the only culture that do it. We're the only culture that loves to say how independent and how segregated we could be. We do it with ourselves. We do it with our children. We do it with our spouses, our possible spouses. We do it with everybody. And we wonder why we make so much money, but we the only culture failing. Everybody else is building up their own areas. And I understand that we're only a couple 100 years in the game, but goodness gracious, it's looking bad. The family structure has failed. All right. The community has failed. Listen, all right. Look at the type of things that happen to the people in our culture or our environment who even succeed. Look at how they have a ceiling, a glass ceiling. Every time somebody in our culture succeeds, they end up dying because of the hatred or the or what do you call that? I don't like the fact that you doing good. The animosity that's inside of other people just because somebody did something. We so crab in the barrel, we can't even maintain. We can't even function. We can't even function as a society, as a group. You see somebody with a good house, somebody coming to rob it. They find a box outside that says you have a 72-inch television, they come in to get it. You look like you got a good car, they come in a jacket. You got some money in your pocket, they want it. We got such a mentality of we don't love ourselves enough, and it helps us fail. It's right there with us. Turn the black woman against the black man and just watch them fail. I'm not going to go racist. I'm just saying I be trying to throw a little something out there because everybody might want to take a couple seconds just... I'm just saying, you might want to think about it just for a minute. But moving right along, let's talk about something else. What else can we talk about? All right, just because it was right on the tip of my tongue after we got... in the sense that I was just talking about stuff like this, I'm going to talk about Young Thug real quick. Yo, all right, listen to this and we'll talk about it afterwards.
All new tonight at 11, contraband in court. Atlanta rapper Young Thug is already facing a slew of RICO charges, but now there are new allegations against him and a fellow YSL defendant. Here's what happened. We got this video from court. Take a look at the part we highlighted here. Do you see this? Right there. According to court motions, Young Thug's fellow defendant Khalif Adams passed Percocet to Young Thug under the guise of a handshake right in front of the entire courtroom. Adams is serving a life sentence for murder. Now, right after what you see there in that video, court documents say that law enforcement immediately moved in to search Adams, who resisted. But once they searched him, the documents say they found more contraband, including Percocet, marijuana, and tobacco, all wrapped in plastic, and food seasonings to mask the smell. The court documents go on to say officers thought Adams swallowed even more contraband, so they rushed him to Grady Hospital. They say court had to be delayed for the rest of the day.
Look, let me tell you one thing. If I'm in court dealing with people talking to me about whether I'm gonna be innocent or guilty, and then a guy that's about to do life hands me a Percocet, I'm not taking that either. Nope. Because that could be, oh, ooh, look, hey, thank you. And then you take it and then you die. I mean, like, listen, man, that's just, he did the right thing. He passed it on to the bailiff and was like, hey, man, he just gave me this. I don't really rock with that. And I wouldn't have either, because that could have been, hey, take this and die. Like, you never know what that is. The truth of the matter is that that's another thing. These guys, look, man, I'm trying to tell y'all, this young, man, stop. I'm telling you, stop, man. Y'all gotta stop playing these games, man. How can y'all not see? Listen, there's no other group of musicians in the world that deal with as much as many court cases, pullovers, arrests. There's nobody beside. So that should be a sign, man. These cats is dealing with RICO cases. RICO. And they're like, oh no, we're actual record company. We're not a gang. Oh, man, lack of guidance. It's always funny till you dealing with that, man. I can't believe that. First off, he was able to come in there with all that stuff on him, because he knew. I guess he knew he was about to do some serious time. He's like, yo, well, I'm gonna try to do what I can do. I don't know what his intentions were. I would like to see the toxicology information from that actual drug that he gave him, because I got a high thought that it might be either like filled with fentanyl or something like that. Something that would put him in a position to where he would not be able to survive it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, and that's supposed to be your team. It's on camera. If you get a chance to look at the video, it's on camera. You see him doing that, and you see him taking it and be like, oh, hold on, you take this. I don't want this. And then dude take it. He stop old boy. He like, hey man, what are you doing? Then they check him, and he got all type of stuff on him. Just another situation where, you know, I mean, there was some serious misconceptions about the people that he was around, and now there ain't no getting out of that, man. And not that situation. I'm just talking about in general, when you going down with a whole bunch of people, man. That stuff mess up your whole life, man. It mess it all up. And you don't really recognize that your life is messed up until you dealing with the possibility that you can't really live your life the way you want to live it. And there it be. It's all done. But I digress. I'm just saying that, whew, that's a hard scene right there, man. If I can say anything, that's a hard move right there. And he did the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Let it be known that he got something he wasn't supposed to have, because I don't know what the position looked like. He might have been in custody, and they check you on the inside. Don't ask me how I know. But you don't really move from place to place without somebody being able to, you know what I'm saying? That's just not cool. And I don't know why a person would put that person in that position, unless, I don't know. I really don't know why they would do that. But speaking about not knowing why a person would put themselves in that position, ooh, let's go to Tennessee. Goodness gracious. And we're going to ride this one out, because this conversation here is amazing. But y'all listen to the verse, I'll talk about the hook.
A shocking 20-page report has been completed into sexual relationships at the Laverne Police Department. some happening while officers were on duty and at work.
Doing something while you're at work, I mean, for everybody else who goes to work, we're held to that same standard.
Jerry Howell says he was in disbelief when first reading the report and wants changes from city leaders. The investigation says Mayor Jason Cole got the first tip about the relationships.
It's just bad. It's like a stain, I guess.
We requested an interview with Mayor Cole, but was told he was not willing to talk on camera. Instead, he released a statement saying in part, "We will be retraining all of our employees in the rules, regulations, and expectations set forth by city leadership."
Be a wake-up call for Laverne, but also a wake-up call for our police department to take care of themselves.
Keith Bice says he would like to see the community step up and help oversee the police department.
Just a couple of bad apples does not make the whole bunch bad.
Police Chief Chip Davis talked about exactly that in his statement released this afternoon, saying in part, "We understand this will take time and diligence from our command staff and officers to repair the honor and integrity of our department."
They're not being upfront about what happened. All right. Maybe I picked the wrong clip. Let me tell you what happened. There's a female who had a husband, and I think they both were police officers. They might have both been, maybe one of them was, but I know that one of them at least was a police officer. The female definitely was. Excuse me. And what happened was she was letting the other dudes in the police office. She had a couple dudes, total of 6. A total of 6. 4 of them were fired. 2 of them were suspended, or vice versa. The point of the matter is this: they was running trains on this broad, right? I mean, she was letting them run trains on her. If you don't know what a train is, Google it. But it was nasty. It was on shift. It was, I guess, whenever, and it was happening, and it came out that they were doing that, and they got to a point that it was visible, and they was like, "Yo, y'all got to go. A couple y'all gotta go. A couple y'all gotta get suspended." The point of the matter was, the dude was like, "I'ma stay with her. I'ma stay with her. We gonna work this out." Is basically what he said, and I can't condone that, man. I feel like whatever it was they was dealing with, you know, if you deal with a situation where you are a female, it's like, oh well, she had an emotional connection with somebody, and you can be like, all right, well, I could kind of understand that, work it out, or say, you know what, I hope y'all work out. But when you is letting people run trains on you, there ain't no coming back from certain things, man. Like, that is weird. She was trains. I mean, multiple people. And all right, she was not the finest person in the world. She wasn't. I'm just going to say that the thing about women that is different from guys is that when a whole bunch of guys are in their element and a female, all right, I'm going to give you an example. I play online, which you guys can, get at the Twitch when I get that started very soon. So look for that. But when I play video games, and I mostly play Modern Warfare, but when I play COD or Call of Duty, guys we talk the way we talk and do what we do. But when a female come in, people act a little different, man. Like, people act a little bit different when a female come into the game, because now you got a female playing with you, and guys try to holler at her, and you know what I'm saying, they want to be friends with her and stuff like that, which I understand because it's rare. I believe it's the same thing when you're inside of the work environment. It's like having a female that's laying brick or a female that's, doing tree trimming or something like that, like you don't expect a female to be there. And when a female's there, even if she is naturally a 4, she becomes like a 7 or an 8 just because she's in an environment where men don't normally see females. So in an environment as it pertains to like the police force, I can understand why men will look at a woman who is a 4 and be like, yo, she's like a 7 or 8. And to some, she might have been a 9 out of 10. You never really know, but the point of the matter is, I have 2 thoughts about it. One thought is, ugh, like really nasty, man. First off, because she married. And I know that, like, when people be at work, they be, you know what I'm saying, they have this thing where, you know what I mean, they work environment, it's kind of like a whole different world. You spend 8 to 10 hours a day at that work environment, and you're dealing with people, and then people start assuming that, hey, I'm just, do this, that, and the other. And it's messed up because even if your dude was a cuck, however you pronounce that, it's just like a train. Like, God, come on, man, that's just terrible. Like, that's really terrible, because you can't come back from that. Because but that's just me. Whatever. And all this sexual freedom, man, that's not working, dog. I don't even know why a person would do that. It's so terrible. I mean, but like I said, y'all could feel free. 5 officers fired. For sexual misconduct. That's just, and it's like, dang it, she was letting them. She didn't even want a sandwich. She still got 5 guys. Yo, who does that? That's so terrible. Even if your man wouldn't give it to you like he was supposed to give it to you, you still was like, yo, I'm going. And I don't know what to say. I promise, if I could say anything to the man in that situation, I would say cut your losses, bruh. I mean, we're seriously, man, because life's too short to be putting yourself in a position of dealing with somebody that's just wants to. I mean, maybe that's her thing. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Maybe he liked that. Maybe he don't mind that. Maybe it's not a big deal. Some people will let a woman cheat just because they be like, they don't know what's happening, but like, I don't care if you cheat. I'm cheating on her, so whatever. It is what it is, man. But I can guarantee you one thing: it don't make for a good situation, and it don't help you build nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I give y'all another clue. You get older, man, and sex start to lose the priority over other things. You know what I'm saying? Like building and making things work and establishing things together and legacy and it's just that, like, that's just sex. And then when sex ain't a big ass deal, then it's like, oh, I don't really care about that much. But I don't know. It just seems weird to me, but I ain't gonna trip on it. But I think also when you put yourself in those type of positions, like where you over sensualize the sexual aspects of your relationship, you put yourself in a position to where you can't even really, you can't function in a regular environment. Now, I'm not saying that there is no need in the confines of a relationship. I'm not saying that it's wrong to feel that way, but sometimes, no. In general, when you're in a relationship, I think that's important. But if that is the only factor that you have, it puts you in a very difficult position, because when you move past that momentary feeling of adrenaline or whatever you want to call it, then you have to deal with life on life's terms. And sometimes you want to be around somebody you can build with. So a person can be completely, what do you call that, promiscuous as it pertains to your relationship, and you can say, I don't care. And a lot of people, I mean, not a lot of people, but I will say some people have that tendency to be like, yo, I don't really care about all that. And you allow a person to be promiscuous, but when they need to come back to the relationship and actually function inside a relationship, because their mindset is so sexually based, they might have a problem functioning inside of an environment where there are more things going on. Because in relationships, there are things that have to happen. There are emotional bonds that have to be built, and beyond the financial and all the other things, you have to be able to function with that person inside of that environment. That means y'all gotta be on the same page. And being on the same page can be everything, or as big as where you want to live and what you perceive that success inside of your family should be. And it can be as small as the sandwich you want, but all those things are they coexist. And when those other forms of coexistence don't exist inside of your environment, and the only thing you have is sexual relation, it don't function right. You know what I mean? Because, and if you look at most people that married because or got together because they had a physical attraction to each other, most of them fail because the physical attraction, it fades because there's an initial endorphin inside of that person when they first see you, and then maybe when they second see you, maybe after a month or 2 months, 3 months. But when you're with a person long enough, you find them attractive. Like, you know they're attractive. You see them, you be like, goodness, this motherfucker look good. Or, you know what I'm saying, I like this person, or I like the way they look, and I blah, blah, blah. But there's more there as time goes by, because when you deal with things, or you're in a situation, or you've been in situations with that particular person, as time passes, things are added on to that. Like, things start to make sense because you had the time with that person. And then it don't be just the sex. The sex can be great. The communication can be great, but that grows. Even if you had bad communication, if you communicate with a person enough, you'll learn how to communicate if you're willing to learn how to communicate with them. If you live with them long enough, you'll learn how to function inside of that environment if you care about that environment. Financially speaking, you can make goals together, and you can actually build on the things that you want to build on, because those are the goals that you both have. But that has to come with being around each other enough to have consensual goals. Like, that comes with time. So you can't really say that you have that initially, because all the things that make something last take time. The initial things are always easy. It's just always easy. It's easy to find somebody that can look good for a day. It's easy to find somebody that can, do the things you want them to do in bed. It's easy to find somebody who will make you feel like you want it for a time. Everything else takes time. None of that stuff that is initially seen is necessarily the things that are going to last. And so, as people in general, we have to find out what we're really looking for. Because if you're looking for right now, like what's right now, you can always find it. And that's where I think, in general, maybe she went wrong. I don't know her situation. I'm just gonna say that when you hear stuff like this, you always assume that a person is looking for the what's right now. And he'd be like, why would you do that? Why would you go out and just let all of your department run a train on you? Now they all got fired. Now they all got to either move, and I can guarantee you, all them dudes wasn't single. It wasn't a whole bunch of single dudes. Just some of them dudes was married. Some of them had girlfriends. Some of them had children. They gon' and it's visible. So they gonna have to go back and try to figure out what they gonna do with their life after the fact. What puts a person in that position? They looking for the what's right now. Just what's right now. And if ain't nobody there to tell you, hey man, like you might want to be thinking about something, and I'm nowhere near perfect. But I can say that in hindsight, it's like, yo, I see why you would, but I know why you shouldn't. Like, no, I see why you would, but I also know exactly why you shouldn't. And that's a conversation that everybody gotta have eventually and individually. The concept is that you have to have the conversation with yourself. Yo, what's the purpose? What am I trying to gain? Now, I'm sure that her man initially is like, yo, I'm gonna stick with her. We're just gonna move forward. I don't think that's gonna last. I've seen multiple situations where a man has came out and said, yo, I'm gonna stick with her. I'm gonna make this work and this, that, and the other. And the next thing they do is come out on some type of miscellaneous press conference and be saying, nah, I'm letting go of this. And yeah, is that right? Because the thing about it is, it's not even about the public perception. It's a trust factor. It's the concept of respect. And when you lose, when respect is gone, there's nothing left. As it pertains to men. And so what do you say? If you want to make sure that you have what you should have as it pertains to women and men and inside of relationships, a lot of times the biggest thing you can do is make sure that you respect a person either enough to refrain or enough to make sure that that person knows that you want to move forward. And beyond that, a lot of times when it comes to what you want to do in reality, you have to put effort inside of making the decision to make that decision. So if I'm talking about anything as it pertains to the moment of Zen, I want to say this. We have got to stop putting ourselves in positions to fail. And sometimes that information and the knowledge that we need in order to move forward may come from the people that came before us, but however we grab the information or the knowledge, we need to grab it. Because if we don't grab it, what we end up doing is losing. And the only reason we're losing is because we're not paying attention to what's going on around us. And that fact that things have happened before and they're just reverting into a new area. Now that's your moment of Zen. And I don't know, man. Just remember, long run, I love you. Hey everybody, it's your boy Lee Alexander the Great, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. I did too, but just wanted to stop by to let you know, don't forget to go to thehookpc@gmail.com. That is thehookpc@gmail.com to send in those emails and send in those questions and those comments and concerns. If you have something that you want to speak about from today, I'll backtrack a little bit just to make sure we get it all in together now. So until then, again, I say be great and I love you.